there, Lyndall Pinchin, Canine Naturopath from Canine Vitality, and welcome back to my channel Happy Healthy Dogs, where I provide natural solutions for your dog's health issues and help them live a longer, healthier life naturally. Now in this week's video, we're going to be having a look at a substance that is very problematic for your dog's gut and their general health. And that substance is something known as gluten. Now, many of you have heard of it. Some of you have probably got your own issues with it. Now, gluten is the protein that's found in wheat and many other grains. And as I said, it can really wreak havoc on your dog's gut and also their general health. Now, when I was a little girl, I had lots of different foods that I loved, but there was one thing that I loved above all else, and that was fresh white bread. Now, in those days when I was little, we used to get our bread home delivered by a lovely lady by the name of Anne, who I can still remember. It used to be delivered every few days and come in like a wax wrapping, and it used to smell amazing, as fresh bread always does. Now, my mum would cut me a great big thick slice of it and put lots of butter on it for me, which back in those days we thought was okay to do. And of course, I would then just eat it. I loved it, whether it was with a meal or whether it was just as a snack. Now, I've got some lovely white bread here today. I'm not very good with knives, so I'm going to be very careful as I do this, but I'm going to cut a nice thick slice of this. And I have to admit that as I cut through this and I smell it, it is very tempting for me to actually want to eat this. Now, there we are. I didn't cut myself, so that's great. We've got a lovely thick slice there. I've got some nice fresh butter here. And I'm going to pop a bit of butter on this, because you can't have it without butter. There we go. Awesome. And there we have this beautiful thick slice of white bread. And yes, that smells pretty yummy. But you know what? I am not going to eat that. It will be very problematic for me if I do. You see, I've been gluten intolerant since I was in my early 20s. So this is definitely off my shopping list. If I was to eat that, I would be spending most of the afternoon in the bathroom. And I've even got one of my dogs here trying to get to it. Go away, Bernie. He can smell it too. Not good for him either. So definitely off my shopping list, as good as it may smell. Now, what is it that gives gluten such a bad rap? Now, as I said before, gluten is the protein found in wheat and other grains that are predominantly found in dry food, in kibble. And it's made up of two peptides, one known as gliadin and the other known as glutenin. Now, these both collectively are what give bread its elasticity. Now, did you know that the word gluten comes from the Latin glue? So that probably gives you a little bit of a clue as to what gluten might do for both the plant itself, but also within your dog's body. Now, when we feed our dogs foods that contain grains such as wheat and other gluten-containing grains, these can cause all sorts of gut issues. Initially, what happens is it can set up a pattern of damage to the intestinal lining, because the body has really a lot of trouble trying to break down gluten. In fact, it cannot really do it. So gluten tends to cause damage to the intestinal lining, and this can lead to inflammation and also a syndrome known as leaky gut syndrome. And you can find out more about leaky gut syndrome in some of my other videos that I talk about, where I focus on that in depth. But leaky gut can then lead to all sorts of health issues, and I see these all the time with many dogs, from allergies to yeast infections to general inflammations with joints and other areas of the body, to behavioural changes. There are a whole range of problems that can occur when we start to give our dogs these sorts of foods that contain gluten, because as I said, being glue-like, it really is not able to be broken down. Now, I've got some glue here. Now, if I was to just put that all over my bread, as I'm doing right now, you can see that, well, that's not going to be very appetizing now, is it? But it's pretty much like that when we take gluten into our dog's body. It can actually be like putting glue directly into the gut. And I certainly wouldn't recommend that you eat this or give it to your dog, but that's pretty much what you're doing when you feed kibbles and other foods that contain wheat or gluten-containing grains. So really not a good idea to be feeding them this. As I said, you know, it sets up a pattern of all sorts of gut issues, which then extends out to other problems in your dog's health. But you know, you can easily avoid gluten by avoiding any of those grains. We know that grains are problematic for dogs in general. They don't digest them well, and certainly the ones that contain gluten are highly problematic. But as long as you stick to a diet that's based on raw and natural foods that's grain-free, you can absolutely avoid the issue with gluten, and there's no need for you to ever really worry about it. So if you're currently feeding your dog a diet that's based around kibbles or any sort of food that contains gluten, you know, you might want to consider changing over to a raw diet and eliminating that out of the diet and getting, you know, your dog's gut back in, back into good health. So easily done, guys. Simple things to just avoid those foods that contain gluten and move to a more appropriate natural diet. Now, I hope you found this video helpful today. If you did, please let me know in the comments box below. Please like, comment and share this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on the little bell to be notified of all my latest videos. And if you've got a dog that has an issue, I'd love to hear from you. If you want to work with me, please let me know. Leave me a message in the comments box below. I do read them all and reply to them all. And that's it for this week. I hope you found this video helpful, as I said, and I look forward to catching up with you next week in another video. So for now, bye, and I'll talk to you very soon.